Continuing with Matthew 7, verse 7. Ask, and it will be given to you. Seek, and you will find. Knock, and it will be opened to you. For everyone who asks receives. He who seeks finds. To him who knocks, it will be opened. This kind of promise that Jesus is offering here is, I guess, not very common in most other Jewish texts when it talks about praying or seeking God or asking for something. But why is this? So what gives Jesus the confidence to say, yeah, if you go for it, God's going to answer you, okay? He says, or is there any among you who, if his son asks him for bread, will give him a stone? Or if he asks for a fish, will give him a serpent? If you then, being evil, know how to give good gifts to your children, how much more will your Father who is in heaven give good things to those who ask him? Therefore, whatever you desire for men to do to you, you shall also do to them, for this is the law and the prophets. So Jesus goes in here and he does another how much more thing, which we've talked about before, and it's this very common idea, and it's all over Scripture, and here it is again. Only in this case, he's like, hey, if you know how to take care of your kids, when they're like, hey, I'm hungry, you don't give them a rock or like, ha, chew on that. Or a fish, right? This is just basic dietary stuff. If the kid's like, I need a snack, you're not like, well, here, I hope this snake bites you. No, you take care of your kids. And if you do that, God is so much more going to take care of you. And then it's interesting because Jesus takes this idea that I guess the negative was already in circulation at this point in time, which was don't do to others what you don't want them to do, which also shows up in Scripture elsewhere. But this idea of, if you don't want somebody to hit you, don't hit them. Only Jesus flips it around here and he says, if you want them to do something good, then do that for them. So if you want somebody to be loving to you, you should be loving to them, because this is the law and the prophets, or this sums up the law and the prophets. And so Jesus says, if you look at the entire point of the Bible, why are we doing all of this stuff? We've got all of Scripture up until this point in time, the entire Tanakh, right? Or Old Testament, as we like to call it. It is that we're supposed to do to other people what we want them to do to us. We want to be loving. And remember, this is all in the context of Jesus saying, if your righteousness does not exceed that of the Pharisees, if you're not bigger than them, like as far as holiness is concerned, you're not getting into heaven. And so what does it mean to be more holy than the Pharisees? Well, in this case, it means you gotta love people, right? Okay. And then Jesus goes on and says, enter in by the narrow gate, for the gate is wide and the way is broad that leads to destruction, and there are many who enter by it. How the gate is narrow and the way is restricted that leads to life. There are few who find it. And the Jewish people were very aware of this idea of like, hey, choose life, not death. And, there's a lot of people that are going to get destroyed. But in general, people are like, hey, we're God's people. We're good. And Jesus is like, it's actually a very small number of people who are going to find the way to life. And everything else is this way to destruction. Okay, so large number of people going to destruction, few people getting on to life. Beware of false prophets who come to you in sheep's clothing, but inwardly are ravening wolves. By their fruits you will know them. Okay, and I just think it's interesting that he's talking about these wolves, because wolves and dogs, right, are similar species here, same species. So we've got these wolves here, but then just a little ways up here, and this was last week, so I'm sorry that we didn't have a chance to link these two together, but it says don't give what is holy to dogs, right? So he's keeping on this theme here of these, okay? So false prophets, I guess there hadn't been a lot of prophets recently wandering around, but false prophets were all over the place, right? So he's saying, hey, beware of that, because they look like they're going to be taking care of you, but wolves, they will eat those sheep up. And then by the fruits you will know them. Okay. Do you gather grapes from thorns or figs from thistles? Even so, every good tree produces good fruit, but the corrupt tree produces evil fruit or bad fruit. A good tree can't produce evil fruit, neither can a corrupt tree produce good fruit. Every tree that doesn't grow good fruit is cut down and thrown into the fire. Therefore, by their fruits you will know them. And my pastor has been preaching this for quite a while, and I think it's a good point to bear repeating here based off of this text, which is that we as Christians in America in particular look at the size of someone's church or how often they go to church or the number of followers that they have or something like that. And they're like, that is the fruit, right? How many people got baptized on Sunday? And that's how we're going to know. Or how many miraculous things do they do? Or how amazing do these people look? Okay, those are the kinds of things that we look at and say that that's fruit. Let's hop over to Isaiah 5 real quick, okay? And this is we're just going to bust through this really fast, but I think this will give us an idea of what fruit we're really talking about here, okay? Let me sing for my well-beloved, a song for my beloved about his vineyard, okay? So he's singing about he's like, hey, I've got this vineyard, and it's on this fruitful hill, and he digs it up, and he looks for a yield, but it yielded wild grapes, or, not very good grapes, okay? Now, inhabitants of Jerusalem and men of Judah. So God is now talking and saying, hey, people of Israel, look at this. What do you think? Okay, judge between me and my vineyard. What more could I have done? Right? I took care of it, and then it just produced these wild grapes. Okay, so then what I'm going to do is I'm going to take away its hedge, and I'm going to have it be broken down and trampled and all this. Okay, it's going to get destroyed and all this stuff. All right? For the vineyard of Yahweh of armies is the house of Israel, and the men of Judah his pleasant plant. And he looked for justice, but behold, oppression. For righteousness, but behold, a cry of distress. And so when Jesus is saying fruit, what are we looking for? God has already, in Isaiah, talked about how fruit is, I'm looking for good that come out of you. And instead, we've had just violence and evil. And we, of course, New Testament believers, we're going to be like, okay, fruit of the Spirit, love, joy, peace, all those are also good, right? So what are the things that are growing in you that you are doing? And what are your actions? And I think that it's kind of shocking for Americans as we look out at the pastoral landscape and these mega churches and stuff, and we're like, well, that was a really popular person, and then they got caught in that kind of evil that they were doing? What's going on? Well, maybe we're looking for the wrong fruit. Okay, so just lay that out there. Okay, so by their fruit, you will know them. All right. Now we go even further with this idea. Not everyone who says to me, Lord, Lord, will enter into the kingdom of heaven, but he who does the will of my Father who is in heaven. Many will tell me in that day, Lord, Lord, didn't we prophesy in your name? In your name cast out demons, and in your name do many mighty works? Then I will tell them, I never knew you. Depart from me, you who work iniquity. And so when we're talking about the day here, right? So in the day, right, or that day, we're talking about the day of the Lord. This is ultimate judgment kind of language. This is, at the end times. Here we go. And Jesus is saying that even people who perform miracles, who cast out demons and prophesy, even those people, if they are not doing the will of God, Jesus says, I don't know who you are. And as a believer who is active in church and, now I'm recording videos on YouTube and, that kind of stuff, like, it doesn't matter how much good stuff it looks like I'm doing. If I'm not doing God's will, if I'm not doing that, then Jesus could say to me, hey, get out of here. I don't know who you are. You're a person who does evil. And that's sobering. So, yeah, okay. Again, this is all in the context of how are we going to be more righteous than the Pharisees? Everyone, therefore, who hears these words of mine and does them, I will liken him to a wise man who built his house on a rock. The rain came down, the floods came, and the winds blew and beat on that house, and it didn't fall, for it was founded on the rock. Everyone who hears these words of mine and doesn't do them will be like a foolish man who built his house on the sand. The rain came down, the floods came, and the winds blew and beat on that house, and it fell, and its fall was great. This is a very familiar passage if you've been in Sunday school for any period of time. I had not really put together that the context of this particular little story, which has a fun little song and everything, if you grew up in Awana or certain Sunday schools or whatever, this is all in the context of how does our righteousness surpass that of the Pharisees? We need to be following God's direction. We need to be doing the will of God. Because otherwise, this is all collapsing. Just listening, just hearing it, not enough. We must do it. And in this case, it's the words of Jesus himself. which, when Jesus had finished saying these things, the multitudes were astonished at his teaching, for he taught them with authority, not like the scribes. And when it says here that they were astonished and, he has this authority, he is claiming authority. He is saying these words of mine, okay? Everybody else is building off of what was already recorded in Torah, right? We're dealing with what's already been said, and then we're expanding on it. Jesus is saying, no, what I'm saying to you, this is the important thing. This is what you need to get right. And everybody's like, wait, what? He's claiming what now? Okay, so with authority on the mind, let's jump over to chapter 8 and start going forward. Okay, so we've got authority in the back of our minds. Just hold it there. Okay. When he came down from the mountain with great multitudes followed him. So there's a lot of people getting followed around, a person getting followed around by a lot of people. That's a pretty popular person. Something's going on with this. Okay. Behold, a leper came to him and worshipped him, saying, Lord, if you want to, you can make me clean. All right, so we've got a leper showing up in the middle of this giant crowd, and he's saying, Lord, and apparently Lord could also be Sir, but in this case, this passage is saying it worshipped him. Different translations have that a little bit different, but basically he's bowing down before him, he's kneeling before him. So depending on how you read that, you might read Lord a little bit differently. It could just be a Sir, will you help me out here? Okay, you can make me clean, which is quite a claim here, because the last person that I know of who did this is in 2 Kings. I should have pulled this up with the healing of Naaman. And that story is hilarious because you've got the king of Israel getting a letter from the Assyrians being like, hey, I've sent you my general so you can heal him of leprosy. And the king's like, what are you doing? What do you mean? I can't heal anybody. And okay, go read that. 2 Kings 5, I think. Go look that up. Okay, yeah. So that's there, and that's funny. But in this case, this guy's saying, hey, I believe that you are like one of these prophets who could make me clean. Okay, and let's just go back to Leviticus real quick. We're in Leviticus 13, and I'm just going to give you a little bit of context of this, okay? And we're just going to jump into a little part of Leviticus 13 because it's a whole long chapter about this. But basically, when the body has a boil on its skin and it is healed, and in the place of the boil there is a white swelling or a bright spot, reddish white, then it shall be shown to the priest. The priest shall examine it. Behold, if its appearance is deeper than the skin and its hair is turned white, then the priest shall pronounce him unclean. It is a plague of leprosy. It is broken out in the boil. The priest examines it, and behold, there is no white hair in it. It is not deeper than the skin, but is dim. Then the priest shall isolate him for 7 days. If it spreads to the skin, then the priest shall pronounce him unclean. It is a plague. If the bright spot stays in place and it hasn't spread, it is a scar from the boil, and the priest shall pronounce him clean. Okay, and like this whole chapter is this. It's just again, or this, or if it's like this, or like that kind of stuff. Okay. But the point of all of this stuff, when we get all of this stuff, right, is that, okay, yes, here it is. Sorry, I missed that. Okay, so the leper in whom the plague is shall wear torn clothes, and the hair of his head shall hang loose, or be unkempt, or uncovered. He shall cover his upper lip, or keep his stuff in his face covered. Okay, he is to cry, unclean, unclean. All the days in which the plague is in him, he shall be unclean. He is unclean. He shall dwell alone. His dwelling shall be outside of the camp. Okay, so they were masking up long before COVID. Okay, so like this is the thing. You masked up in a sense. You cried unclean. You social distanced. All of that stuff was like what you did when you had this outbreak. Because these are skin diseases. What are you gonna do? Okay, this is pre-scientific era. This is pre-medicine. This is we don't have anything for this, so we don't want it to spread. And so these are the commandments for that. Okay, so he's already coming forward to Jesus and falling at his feet and saying, "You can make me clean." So done. Maybe he covered his face and was running in saying unclean. Everybody's scattered. It's hard to say exactly. It doesn't really tell us, right? Okay. So there's this kind of thing that's supposed to happen. Okay. So he's unclean. And then in 14, okay, chapter 14 of Leviticus, then this is if the person actually gets healed. The priest shall take one of these male lambs, and he's supposed to do this offering for a trespass offering. And actually, this is possibly better translated as purification offering. If you see sin offering or atonement offering, you could think purification offering, because it's not really about sin specifically. It's about getting the person cleaned up so they can come back into society, okay? So we've got all this stuff, and then it's this long thing of where they're going to wave a wave offering before Yahweh. I just read something that said that they didn't actually ever wave anything. It was more like a lifting you lifted it before Yahweh. I don't know. I don't know enough about it to comment too much, but I thought that was interesting because I was always like, you take it and you like wave it around. Like, I don't know what's going on. Okay, so this is some interesting stuff. Okay, and then he shall kill the lamb in place where they kill the sin offering or the purification offering and the burnt offering in the place of the sanctuary. And then it is the sin offering. It is the priest. So the trespass offering it is most holy. The priest shall take some of the blood and the priest shall put it on the tip of the right ear. Right, and on the thumb of the right hand and on the big toe of the right foot, and the priest shall take oil and do all this stuff. So there's this whole purification ritual that is done to show that this person is now clean. And it's also important to note that this is after the person has already been healed. This is not some magic ceremony where we're going to heal the person. This is you have been healed, and now we are doing the purification cleansing thing to make certain that you can come back into society. So you have this taken away from you, and you're ready to move on with your life. Okay, so that's kind of what's going on here. You can go read Leviticus 13 and 14 if you want. It's all about this, but I need to give you that context because now he's coming in and saying, you can make me clean. Okay, so Jesus stretched out his hand and touched him, saying, I want to. Be made clean. Immediately his leprosy was cleansed. Jesus said to him, see that you tell nobody, but go, show yourself to the priest and offer the gift that Moses commanded as a testimony to them. And I didn't see this in any commentaries, but what jumped out to me is that Jesus is taking on the role of the priest because he's saying you are clean, so you can just go and show yourself to the priest. Whereas if you go back to Leviticus, the priest is supposed to come out to you and say, oh yes, you do look better. Okay, let's go take you in and take care of this thing. So Jesus is out there and he says, yeah, okay, good. You're clean. Go and bring the offering now. Okay, so Jesus is taking on the role of priest. So he's claiming some more authority here. All right, so back in chapter 7, we ended with Jesus making divine claims to be on par, if not greater than, the law of Moses, right? The words of God. And he's like, you need to listen to what I say. My words, my thing. Okay, so that's a pretty strong claim for divinity. Okay, and now he's claiming priesthood. He's claiming priestly authority here to say, yep, we're good. At least that's how it reads to me. I didn't see any commentaries, but it read that way to me. Okay. And so, God goes into that. Okay. When he came into Capernaum, a centurion came to him, asking him for help, saying, Lord, my servant lies in the home, paralyzed, grievously tormented. Okay, so this is a Roman centurion. He's a high-ranking general. A centurion was over 60 people. You feel like it should be 100. And I guess at one point in time, maybe it was, but then the number kept getting shrunk down. I don't actually know the whole history of that. I just thought it was funny that, like, it's not 100. It should be, but it's not. I just think that that's hilarious. Okay. But he's coming and he's saying, hey, I've got this servant who's paralyzed. And remember, we had this discussion just a couple back, right? Where Jesus says, if you are only kind to the people who are kind to you, what good is that? How are you special? He says, no, you should pray for those who persecute you. And so here is a Roman soldier who's literally part of the group that's persecuting Jesus' people. And he says, hey, will you heal my servant? And Jesus says, I will come and heal him. Or another translation of this is, do you want me to come heal him? It's like a question, right? Or a challenge or something, okay? The centurion answered, Lord, I'm not worthy for you to come under my roof. Just say the word and my servant will be healed. For I am also a man under authority, having under myself soldiers. I tell this one, go, and he goes, and I tell another, come, and he comes, and I tell my servant, do this, and he does it. Okay, so we've been talking about authority, and now the centurion's like, Jesus, you don't need to come to my house. I'm a Roman. I understand Jews don't come into, Gentile houses. So I get this. You don't need to come here. In fact, I get this so much. I understand that you have authority because I have authority, and I know how authority works. When you have authority, you say, and it happens. Okay? So will you just take care of it then, right? I can say go or come or do this and it happens. So I believe you can do so too. When Jesus heard it, he marveled. Jesus marveled and said to those who followed, most certainly I tell you, I haven't found so great a faith, not even in Israel. I tell you that many will come from the east and west and will sit down with Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob in the kingdom of heaven. But the children of the kingdom will be thrown out into outer darkness, and there will be weeping and gnashing of teeth. All right, so now Jesus is pulling on this imagery, again, day of the Lord type of imagery. And he's saying people are going to come from everywhere. They're going to be coming from all over the place, and they're going to join in this banquet, this celebration. But the people who should be there, the members of the kingdom, they're going to get kicked out to the outer darkness where there's weeping and gnashing of teeth. Gnashing of teeth, it goes like, oh, okay, when you're in so much pain, or your teeth are gritting. So if you've ever had an injury or something happen really bad, or, I don't know, pregnancy, or, okay, like gnashing of teeth. Okay. And so the people, the children of the kingdom, the people who should be part of this kingdom of heaven banquet, they're going to get thrown out. But these people from the rest of the world are coming in. So Jesus is saying, hey, people like this Roman centurion guy, he's in. Isn't that crazy? Okay. So Jesus said to the centurion, go your way. Let it be done for you as you have believed. His servant was healed in that hour. So Jesus performs a long-distance miracle based off of his authority. Okay, so we've been doing authority this whole time here because Jesus ends that with authority, and now we're rolling into authority. And we're going to get into more as we go along, but that's all we have time for this week. So thanks for being here, and we'll go into more in the weeks that come.